Hey, welcome back everybody. It's Sukaba, and today we are going to be doing our Season 9 draft review for the VBL-S. Content week is kicking off. We just wrapped up the draft, and I want to put out my contribution to the masses, fuel the hype of Content week, and do a little analysis on the team that I've selected here for Generation 9, Season 9 of the VBL-S. So, this is an interesting format we've got here. We've got Regulation C, which is a format that includes the almighty powerful Paradox Pokemon, which are the token Mons of Gen 9. And we also have access to the 4 very powerful Ruin legendary Pokemon that are available as well. So, a lot of power we're adding to this format with about, I think we're adding anywhere from 10 to 15 mons. I'm not sure how many there are, but there's a lot. Maybe could even be 20 with all the future forms as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of new stuff in the pool. The board is bigger. We've got double the points. Everything is double the price. We've shifted a lot of those high tiers up. So, things are expensive. You got to manage your draft wisely and hopefully put together something that's going to do work. Now, with this format in mind, I wanted to briefly touch upon what my plan was going into this draft. So typically, I like to have somewhat of an idea of what I'm doing before I go in. You know, I'm not really of the opinion that you can really accurately and, efficiently plan out an entire draft before you begin. Just because, it's all subjective. Part of having a good draft is adapting to what the board gives you and what mons you get and what do you need next, what do you synergize next. It's like on the go. That being said, one thing I did want to sort of stick to was going top heavy. The low tiers on this draft board are incredibly barren. Really hard to find value below 10 points, honestly. So the mons at the top are so strong that having several of those will give you such an advantage that it's okay if you end up having a team with only 8 Pokemon and you need 3 bag mons. I was willing to go down that route if I felt like I could swing it. So to go along with that strategy, once I found out I had pick 10, I think it was pretty reasonable for me to expect that I would be able to get at least one of these mighty powerful Paradox or Ruin Pokemon in the first round to be sort of my centerpiece to build around for the season. A lot of cool stuff you could do with these tablets of Ruin and all these abilities. You could build whole identities around that with your team. Also, Photosynthesis, Quark Drive, that booster energy, Sunny Day, Electric Terrain. There's a lot of cool stuff that enables these mons to be even more powerful than their base stats are. So I wanted to grab one of those to build around. I also find that personally, I'm more successful with having a token support Pokemon that I can kind of rely on for the whole season to carry me. Last season, that was Klefki. In the past, it's been Meowstic for me. It's been Togekiss. It's been Grimmsnarl. I just like having one mon that's sort of like a dedicated support mon that can do a lot of heavy lifting for my supportive needs. So wanted to grab one of those probably in round 2, preferably one that complements my Reg C mon, whatever I got, well. So think Grimmsnarl, Indeedee, Mousehold, Sableye, Murkrow, something along those lines. As always, I wanted to also make sure I wasn't shifting too far in one direction on the speed control front. Make sure I have multiple options, Tailwind, Trick Room, and other means of gaining the speed advantage. So when pick 10 arrived, I had a choice between 2 mons that I was really liking, Chien-Pao and Great Tusk. And I decided to go with the almighty Tusk, the elephant. Holy power, look at this thing. 19 points, hefty for the budget, but look what you get for it. You got 570 base stat total, as all the Photosynthesis, Paradox, Quark Drive mons have, but you get 131 attack, 115 HP, 131 defense, with 87 speed. Now, that special defense is kind of rough, not going to lie, but with the HP stat, decent typing, you could throw an Assault Vest on it, it's manageable. So, first of all, holy power. Holy power. Ho, ho, ho. High base power stab moves make this thing even more powerful than you might think. Yeah, Earthquake's going to hit hard, but Headlong Rush, oh my god, that thing's going to annihilate people. If I set up a Photosynthesis boost, get a free Life Orb, basically, on the damage multiplier. Close Combat is high base power. The offensive typing here is incredible. And I think Poppin actually had a metric that he had out for the draft where he actually showed what are the most effective Pokemon based on their offensive typing combined with their attack stats. And Great Tusk was one of the top mons on the list. This thing can decimate things. And if you support it correctly, it has the speed to be really good. Like 87 speed is not bad at all. Like you put a Tailwind next to it, you activate you put a Scarf on it, you get some sort of speed control next to it, and this thing can take names on the KO front. My goodness. Also gets great coverage with it, too. I mean, you get rock coverage, ice, fairy. You get knockoff, Iron Head. Great candidate for an Assault Vest with all those nice, meaty attacks that it's got going on. You want to be running a lot of those. Yeah, and the physical bulk is outstanding, obviously. 115, 131 is very hard to take down physically. And, with draft, a lot of teams tend to shift towards the physical side, so that offers an advantage there as well. So, yeah, versatile as all hell. I mean, Photosynthesis is always scary because you never know what stat you're going to boost in prep. You got to account for, do I run a low attack investment so I can get a speed booster energy off, or do I commit to the all-out attack, and then you have to account for the fact that this thing could be even more powerful with a Terra boost and that. Like, there's so many different sets you could run on this thing. Great candidate for choice items. Obviously, I've already talked about how good it is with Assault Vest. This was just the perfect mon for me to build a team around. And I wanted to make sure that I got my token support to go along with this super powerful, super bulky, awesome, cool, Great Tusk mon. I mean, look at the design on it. It's cool. Look at him. He's got tusks. They're pretty big. I mean, he's the Great Tusk after all, right? So wanted to make sure I got a support to go with him. That support ended up being Sableye around the bend. Now, I think Sableye is a sick draft mon and one that I've wanted to use for a long time. Like, this is probably one of the most versatile support mons in the entire national decks. Look at all the support moves you get with Prankster. You get Quash. Only mon with Prankster Quash. You get Fake Out for that option to flinch and support your teammates. Now it gets screens in Gen 9. You also get Prankster Taunt. You get Prankster Will-O-Wisp, Prankster Weather. You get Encore, Disable. You can Imprison. You could skill swap Prankster onto another mon. Like, this thing has so much going for it. Not to mention, I mean, it also gets Icy Wind. Feint is always niche uses. You could proc a weakness policy with a Shadow Sneak potentially. Like, Snarl, Knockoff. Like, oh my god, this kit is incredible. So much at its disposal. Now, the stats on Sableye are kind of misleading because you look at these base stat total of 380 and you're like, oh my god, this mon is garbage. Yeah, the stats are definitely garbage. Like, it's bad. These are not good stats for a Pokemon. But when you combine those stats with its typing, it kind of tells a different story. Dark Ghost is literally like the perfect typing that this mon could have for a Prankster support mon. You can't get fake outed. You're immune to opposing Pranksters. So you can't get Prankster taunted either. Like, you're only really hit by, like, the dark covers for the ghost. Sorry, the ghost covers for the dark's fighting weakness. It's great. The dark covers for the ghost weakness. Like, the only thing it's really weak to is like fairy, and maybe something else that I'm not remembering. But it's just a really, it's harder to kill than it might seem. You put all bulk investment into it, and it can actually live a hit. But if not, you could always throw a sash on it. But this thing is going to be so cool. And I think it synergizes well with Tusk in the sense that, Quash, Fake Out can help it set up. It can set a Sunny Day for it. So I have a mini Sun mode to activate that Photosynthesis without needing to assign the booster energy. So imagine leading Tusk with Assault Vest. You get all the benefits of having that bulk, but you also have Prankster Sunny Day next to it. Now you've activated Photosynthesis. Now it's dealing 1.3 attack damage as well. You could Terra Ground, Earthquake, stuff like it. The potential is really good there. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to using that combo. Round 3 came around the bend, and I really wanted to double down on building this team around Great Tusk. So what did I take? Was the ideal partner for a big meaty elephant, Talonflame. So this is a mon that I love. I've used Talonflame a lot in my VGC playing days back in like 2014, 2015. I forget what gen that was. Gen 6 maybe is when I was using a lot of Talonflame. Now, that was before the Gale Wings nerf. But it's still good. I mean, it's a great draft mon. Fastest Tailwind in the format. Like, what better mon could you want next to a mon like Great Tusk that wants you to be enabling it via speed control options? This thing could also get a fast Sunny Day. So if I don't want to, I could lead Tusk Talonflame And even though I don't have the Sableye, I'm still getting a sunny day off before anything else, activating my photosynthesis. I can set a Tailwind and then a sunny day. Like, the options are really good there. This thing also gets Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, pretty decent support pool. Quick Guard can have niche uses if you think they're throwing in a priority attack against your teammates or yourself to break that Gale Wings. What I like about this mod too is, like, even if you don't really need to rely on Gale Wings at all, like, it's still the fastest Tailwind you could get, even if Gale Wings, if you get hit, let's say. Like, Fake Out comes in, you have a Covert Cloak on, you're probably still getting that Tailwind off before anything else is happening. So, really solid mon to put next to Tusk. You know, you can evade an Earthquake since you have that flying type. So, I also like how the offensive power on this mon is, like, it's sneaky good. You're like 81 attack, it's not that good. But look at the moves that it has stab access to. Flare Blitz and Brave Bird, 2 120 base power moves, which really help it do a lot more damage than you might think just from looking at the stats. So you could do like a max speed, max attack set with a sash, or you could run a Covert Cloak. Like, there's a lot of different options you can do. And having this speed tier available is annoying for opponents during prep. So really solid mon to pair with my top 3 there. Next up, so we have a hyper explosive fast mode going on with Sableye enabling the Tusk. What do I want next? I want a slow mode, an option for it. Also, a bulky water type. There's no better than good old SLOWKING here. Got Regenerator, Oblivious, pretty good stats, very bulky. Good defensive typing as well with the Psychic and the Water. 95 HP, 110 special defense, 80. It's really good defenses. So this thing, what I like about it as a Trick Room option mon is that when you set a Trick Room with this thing, it doesn't just sit there. Like, that's the problem I have with a lot of Trick Room mons is, like, yeah, like, it could set Trick Room. Oh, this random mon gets Trick Room. You lead it, you get Trick Room off. What is it doing after that? Is it just clicking Helping Hand? Does it want to be on the field anymore? Do you want to switch it out? Do you want it to die? SLOWKING doesn't have that problem because after you click Trick Room, it threatens to hurt you with a low speed tier, which is now going first, and 100 special attack with outstanding coverage. So it's really can be a threatening mon. And what I also like is, like, you don't have to use it in that Trick Room mode. Like, you could have this thing in the back as a switch in, just a bulky set, leftovers with Regenerator. You can be running like Heal Pulse, Helping Hand, just like a bulky support. You could also run like a spec set on this thing, like really take advantage of that good special attack. And that's something I needed as well. Like, special attackers are kind of hard to find on this board, so SLOWKING gave me a good one that also enables a potential slow mode later. I'm really a big believer that you can't go hard into one type of speed strategy in Draft League. If you have a team that's all fast mons centered around Tailwind, opponents are going to bring Trick Room against you. So you need to have a solid answer for that, or at least the threat of it in prep. SLOWKING provides that for me. So I really like his kit here. Next up, a returning member to the Togekisses from the championship season, the conference championship season, last one. We've got Glamora coming back. I love this Pokemon, man. This mon was so surprising to me last season as to how good it actually was, and I was happy to pay the 13 it costs to bring it back again. Once again, I was a little concerned about a lot of special attackers being off the board, and how would my draft round out here? I didn't want to have an all physical team and just get burned all season with or set Reflect. So this thing gives me a really threatening special attacker. It's so good. Power Gem and Sludge Bomb are really, really good. And this is what I learned last season. Like, threatening stab attacks with a special rock move, which is pretty rare, and Poison. Those two things, there's not many things that it can't hit with those. Like, you can't hit ground types with those, you can't hit steel types. But you have other things for that. You have Earth Power, you can Terra with like Terrafire, you can Dazzling Gleam, Flash Cannon. Like, there's other things available here that are good. Also gets access to Spiky Shield, can be bulky. I found that Toxic Debris worked out pretty well for me last season. If you run a Sash on it, you can Terra Flying to avoid that 4 times ground weakness, make it an immunity instead. And this thing, I think, is actually going to play a more prominent role this season than it even did for me last season. This thing's going to really appreciate all the speed control support it was getting. It was lacking last season where I was just doing that bulky offense. Now it has potential like Talonflame Tailwind, and now that speed tier of 86 is really good because I can invest in a little bulk, got that power and now it's going first. Sableye, I got that Prankster Quash coming in. Can support it with screens. SLOWKING can set a Trick Room. You could run this thing slow if you really wanted to, slow and bulky. I found that Glimmora was also just a really good candidate for choice items. Like putting a Scarf on this thing, a Specs, turned out to be really good for me last season. So we'll see if I can use it again to success. Another returning member. I went back-to-back on that. I was like, we're running it back. Let's go. We got another Elephant team. We're hitting the zoo. Kaparaja, 8 points. There was like no steel types left on the board. I originally planned to get Scissor at some point in those first 5 rounds, but unfortunately it got sniped. So Kaparaja was kind of my backup. Enables a Trick Room mode, heavy offensive power on the physical side. Yeah, Kaparaja didn't really get a chance to shine for me last season, but I think it's still value on this board at 8. And it offers that sort of strong Trick Room presence, and I just really needed that steel type. This thing is great coverage. I ran it last season, like Terra Fairy with Play Rough was really good last season. Rock Slide even. Like it's got good stuff, and if you can set a Trick Room and it's going first with Sheer Force being a thing as well, it is immense power that you have available at a decent price. All right, so that was sort of my first half of my draft. Now something happened here. All right, now I finished out the next few picks here, but before that I made a big decision, and that was to splurge on another high tier. So I was looking at the board and I was like, oh my god, are we really gonna let Baxcalibur and Slitherwing go undrafted here? I had to find a way to make it work to get one of these mons on my team. And Baxcalibur seemed like the better candidate for the team I already had. Dragon Ice type, incredible stats, a base attack total of 600, blistering 145 attack, pretty bulky, 115, 92, 86. And it's still got that sort of speed tier that I've been looking at with Tusk and Glimmora, where it can take advantage of those speed control options. The base stats on this thing offer me another really powerful threat to go along with Tusk on the physical side. Glaive Rush, 145 attack is insane, especially if you throw like a Life Orb on this thing. It can like O-Coast a lot of things. It could like even does a lot of damage through Reflect, as I saw in my match against Baxcalibur last season. Like something almost got O-Code with a Glaive Rush through a Reflect, which really shocked me. This monk could also run Terra Ground Earthquake, which could be a nice mix-up if I want to do something different on Tusk. Coverage is alright. Ice and Dragon are generally great offensive output. It had, like I said, it has that ground coverage. It has Steel, a little bit of Water. Setup is also really good. You could run a Focus Energy set and just start critting stuff. If you run a Scope Lens, could be good for a potential Dondozo matchup. Swords Dance and Dragon Dance can really help as well if you feel like you have a chance to set up. This could take advantage of a screens mode with Sableye, for sure, but also that Talonflame. This is why it was just a really perfect mon to splurge on at this point in my draft. Synergizes great with Talonflame and Sableye. That can enable it to deal its output and live hits. Thermal Exchange also allows me to have a physical attacker that is not a threat to be burned, because if you can't burn a mon with Thermal Exchange, and that fire, the ability for a fire attack to up its attack stat as well is also nice to have on my team. So yeah, I was really happy to spend all those points on Baxcalibur, but it put me in a little bit of predicament, because now that I've got this first 6 mons that have immense power, take advantage of those speed control options, which is all great. I was really happy with these first 7 that I picked. The bad thing was I had 15 points left. Now here's what happened, right? So I finished out my draft like this originally, right? So I took Rotom for 5 points, Pyroar for 7, Spite Ops for 2. I only had 15 points left, so I knew I was taking at least one Bagmon. And looking at the board, I really struggled, because I wanted Rotom Frost really bad, but I couldn't figure out a way to swing it that made sense with the rest of what I'd be able to fill out. It was just too expensive. So I opted for Rotom. It gave me Levitate to put next to Great Tusk. Also gave me a decent speed tier, which I was lacking, something in the 90s, and another special attacker. Pyroar sort of gave me that as well. It gave me like a fast special attacker that had good support options. Also, I needed a ghost immunity, especially after taking Rotom, and I already have a couple other mons that I didn't have anything else that resisted ghost really. So Spite Ops is definitely bad, but I only had 2 points left available for a mon, and it seemed better than a lot of the other 2-pointers, so I kind of just took it, and I was like, we'll see. Gave me a ground resistance as well. But I wasn't like, after I made these picks, I was kind of like, iffy about it. Like, it didn't feel right in the time. And as I was looking at the board after the draft finished up, I felt like I could have used these 14 points and assigned them in a way that gave me a more bringable set of 3 Pokemon to round out my draft, and also add additional layers to my main core. So here's what I ended up doing after the draft. I made a transaction. I dropped these 3 Pokemon and picked up 3 others, and I'm going to go into that right now. So to replace Rotom, which was 5 points, I went for Electric. Now, I noticed this sitting in the 3 column, and once I started looking into it, I don't know why I picked Rotom over this in the first place. It fills that niche of having an electric type with Levitate that I could put next to Tusk for a potential, or Baxcalibur for a potential Earthquake spam, which is good. It also gives me an interesting speed tier where it can be a Trick Room threat. This thing is really bulky with Eviolite, and it has no net weaknesses. So 70 defense, 70 special defense becomes 105 a pop with a 65 HP stat with an Eviolite. Really bulky. And the attack and special attack stats are serviceable. It's obviously not going to be like a potent OHKOing threat, but it can certainly do some damage. And it also has support options. You could do like Coil with like Zap Cannon, could be cool. Like with that bulk, take advantage of the fact that you could set up. You could Eerie Impulse. You could Gastro Acid in a weird, if you needed it in a weird way. So this was better value for my team. It saved me 2 points and sort of fulfilled a similar niche to what I was going for with Rotom. And I really like the value on this Mon, the opportunity at 3 points. So that was sort of my replacement there. This, though, was the Mon that really prompted me to reconsider those last 3 that I selected. MISMAGIUS was just sitting in 6 points. And I feel as if this was a mistake. You know, it's interesting because Misdrevious, which is the not fully evolved version of this Mon, actually was cheaper. Or it was actually more, it was a point more expensive than MISMAGIUS, which I get it. You could run Eviolite, it becomes bulky. But this thing like has all of what makes Fluttermane so attractive, just without the stat boost and the fairy typing, right? So like this thing has, look at all this offensive coverage. Like it gets fairy, ghost, electric, icy wind is awesome. Gets dark coverage, grass coverage, fire coverage, rock coverage. Like it has so much available on the offensive coverage with a 105 special attack stat with a 105 speed tier. Like this thing can actually be a threatening offensive threat that fits your needs depending on the matchup with all this coverage. Now, it also gives a lot of the same support that Pyroar gave me for 7 points, but it also has Imprison Trick Room. So if I want to stick to that fast mode and I'm concerned about a Trick Room, I could bring MISMAGIUS, Threaten, and Imprison. It could also just give me another mode to set Trick Room as well. If they're trying to match my Tailwind, I could surprise them with a Trick Room. It still has Helping Hand, Will-O-Wisp, and Taunt, just like Pyroar did. But it also gets Fake Tears. It could set up itself with Nasty Plot, Calm Mind. It's got Charm, Destiny Bond, Perish Song. Like, it's crazy what you get for 6 points. It also has Levitate. So it's another Mon that fits really well next to Baxcalibur and Great Tusk as my offensive threats. I'm really leaning into that threat of like I can decimate you with an Earthquake this season. So this was awesome, and like I really am happy that I was able to scoop it after the draft. I can't believe it went undrafted at 6. I don't know if I'm missing something here, but 6 points for all this. Sign me up. Lastly, had 5 points remaining, and looking at my defensive synergies, I really needed something that would allow me to resist water. Because I had a crippling water weakness. SAWSBUCK is a good fit for my team with that normal grass typing. What I like about it is its abilities sort of fit with what I'm trying to do. So Chlorophyll, I remember I have that Sun mode with Sableye and Great Tusk. You could throw SAWSBUCK in there, take advantage of that speed with Chlorophyll, and usable attack stat of 100, 95 speed, decent bulk, 80, 70, 70. Like this is a good Pokemon, decent. It's got great abilities. Even if you don't want to lean into that Chlorophyll mode where you're enabling it with Sun, you've got Serene Grace with Body Slam, Stab, Body Slam, Headbutt, which is kind of funny. You know, you could just paralyze people, flinch them, which is cool. I like that. You could also set up with it. You could Swords Dance. You could be a bulkier set with Leech Seed, Synthesis. It's got cool stuff going on. You know, it could set its own Sunny Day for its Chlorophyll or for Great Tusk potentially. I don't really see a time where I would use Sap Sipper, but these top 2 abilities, along with its typing and its stats, make it a really good addition to my team. And it adds depth to a Sun mode that was a little lacking before with just really enabling photosynthesis and maybe offensive output on Talonflame. Now all of a sudden you have to worry about a potential double speed SAWSBUCK headbutting you and body slamming you, albeit without the Serene Grace if I'm running Chlorophyll. But good value for 5 points. Lastly, I had the Bagmon. I'm dipping into the bag here. Yeah, this mon is basically not a Pokemon, right? Igglybuff kind of sucks. We all know that. Look at it. It's got 210 base stats. This thing is dying to a sneeze. Like, you can't even take this thing for a walk in the park, and it's going to fall and die. But the one thing it has going for it for 1 point is Friend Guard. So, you know, you could always have a sash on it, take advantage of Friend Guard for a turn or two. You know, it's got Helping Hand, you know, a couple support moves, so it's certainly well, I wouldn't say certainly usable. It's theoretically usable, and who knows? It may come in handy. Maybe I really want Friend Guard going on. Who knows? You know, it's cute too. You know, we all need the token cute mascot that sits on the bench all season. Maybe makes a little appearance in a preview every now and then. But yeah, I don't know. I was looking at the 1-pointers, didn't see a lot that I liked. So Friend Guard at least provides some threat of utility. Now, let's look at my draft as a whole here. So we've got those 11 as my team for the season. I like that it has a clean type chart. Very few net weaknesses. I cover my stuff really well, I think. Lots of immunities on this board as well if you look at all the zeros. Like, I got 2 normal immunities. I've got an electric immunity, a grass immunity. I've got a fighting immunity, 2 of them. I've got 3 ground immunities with those 2 levitates and a flying type. I've got a psychic immunity, 2 ghost immunities, dragon immunity. Like, it's really good, actually, all the immunities I was able to get. I only have 2, well, I guess I wouldn't say only. I do have 2 mons that are 4x weak to rock and ground, which is not good, but it certainly could be worse. That's manageable to only have 2 of those. Every single type was also selected in this draft and accounted for besides the bug type. So I was actually able to draft a mon of every type, which is kind of cool. Forget about bug. It doesn't matter anyway. And I also thought that my major players, like these top sets here, cover each other really well. Like, I like the synergy between Tusk, Talonflame, Glimmora, Baxcalibur, Sableye. Like, those are going to be my major players in the lineup every week, and I think that they work well off each other and support each other in a good way. Let's finalize this by just taking a look at our stat summary here. I was able to get pretty good speed tiers. I've got 126 with that threat of Gale Wings being priority Brave Bird or Tailwind. Mismagius gives me that 105 option. I've got like levels here, so it's going to force opponents to think about their speed creeping a little more. And which is part of why I went for the transaction as well. Having Mismagius and SAWSBUCK sort of gives me that creeping speed tier a little bit. I've got a lot of my major players in the middle here. These are going to take advantage of Tailwind and Sableye control to do their damage and do their work and outspeed. I've also got a nice Trick Room mode available with Electric, SLOWKING, Caparajah. Sableye in Trick Room can also help because Quash can allow one of these to go first under Trick Room anyway. So, yeah. I mean, the speed control is going to be a game I'm going to be playing all season with this team. It's explosive. It wants to win quickly with its very strong offensive output. So I have 88 average attack stat, which is very high, especially considering I have Igglybuff in here, which is like not even a Pokemon. And I have strong special attackers as well. I have Mismagius, SLOWKING, Glimmora as my main threats. You could even run Caparajah special if you wanted to be funny. But yeah, I think I covered myself really well. This is going to be quite a different team than I had last season. I sort of ran that methodical, bulky offense. This is going to be more get the speed advantage, win quickly with overwhelming offensive power. So we'll see if I can navigate that successfully. I'm sort of excited to try a new play style out. And let me know what you think of my draft in the comments. I'm excited to see all your content during content week. All those tier lists, those season power rankings where we break down each team. I love it. That's what I live for, and that's why I love this league so much. So I hope you get something out of my draft review. Hopefully you got some insight into what I was thinking, and I want to know your thoughts. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think of the team, and I'm excited to get into some matches with y'all lovely people. All right, so that'll be it for today, and I'll see y'all week 1 for a little bit of commentary on my match. All right, peace.